Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel, and as I say every time I make a video, been a while, sometimes I just kind of drop off the map, but you know, it's part of who I am. I've accepted it, we progress. So it's Monday, I've done quite a lot today so far. It is already 4:05 in the afternoon, but I did get up early. I went swimming at 7:45. Finished at like 8:30. Grabbed a cup of coffee, and then I took the dog to the first ever like little socialisation thing we've done since we got him. We only got him in November. He's sleeping down there. So it's just a little group of dogs in an enclosed field, and they all let to run around together, and it was very nice. He did really well. I realised that I currently have like around about like 6 books on the go by accident because I started loads, which is not abnormal. So I'll talk about that a little bit later when I actually have them to hand. As you can see, all my books are currently in a pile. It's because I am actually going to be making this wall into bookshelves. Ooh, that's bright. But I've not done it yet. I've done part of it and then abandoned it for a very long time, which again, it's who I am. I've accepted it. We move on. So eventually that wall as well will not be green, that one will not be pink. That is white now, but it's a different kind of white, and I've decided I don't like it. I also did the skirting. It was originally yellow. I then didn't like it, so it's now blue. But I have been recording my progression with that as a project, so eventually when it's actually done I'll make a I made my own bookshelves video, and I'll feel really proud of myself because I've actually done it. But after I took him to training, I've been on my computer because I did a little bit of a tidy of this room. I've been listening to one of Brandon Sanderson's lectures, the one on Viewpoint, and it's mainly a Q&A, so I've been able to do other stuff while he's been doing that because I haven't had to take very many notes. To preface that, actually, I'm taking Brandon Sanderson's lecture series, the 2020. 16 was the other ones, wasn't it? I have listened to them before, but I'm taking them again because I've always wanted to be a novelist, and when I was a teenager I actually had like 50,000 words of a novel, and it's just been on the back burner, and I'm now 26. It's a 10-year-old dream, and I'm going to actually do it. I'm going to actually do it. I have someone keeping tabs on me for, what's that word? I don't know, it's gone. Because then with a kind of like someone else expecting me to do stuff, I'm more likely to do it than if I just set myself a deadline. Because ever since coming out of school, I've never had a deadline for anything, and so I've not finished anything, and I've stopped finishing things. I used to finish things, and I've stopped finishing things, and that's kind of sad. But I've been going through my old laptops so that I have, and getting rid of stuff I don't need on them because they don't run very well because they've got tons of stuff on. I'm going to keep my most recent one, but take everything off it, factory reset it, and then just have it for writing. The other two I'm going to take stuff off, and then we're going to see if we can get any money for them. I don't need 3 laptops. I mean, one of them is 10 years old, so it wouldn't sell for a lot, but it might sell for parts. But yeah. So for now I'll carry on the way I was, and I'll take you along with me this week for a little reading life vlog.
So in this clip, I'm partly watching Brandon Sanderson's lecture. As I said, that I was partway through. My notebook's on the side that I just, I haven't needed to take many from this Q&A. But on my laptop, I'm going through every single picture, screenshot, download, anything that I had on there from however many years I had it. I can't remember, maybe a couple of years, but I'd lived in 2 cities whilst having this laptop. But it was so strange. It was kind of like watching somebody else's life. Like, it's so strange to go back a couple of years, maybe 2 years, 5 years, however long you go back, and look at the pictures or watch the videos, and the people who surround you are different, the places you're in are different, to the point where personally I didn't even recognize her. It's like I was watching videos from someone else's life. Like, I've changed so much in the last couple of years that I didn't know her. The way that she spoke, the way that she's acted. I mean, I understand her, but she's not me anymore. And here I'm just sending pictures of some of them to my boyfriend. That was one of him, the first time he ever shaved his beard. It went after I met him anyway. But yeah, it was a kind of a dissociative experience for me in a way, because I'd clearly taken so many steps away from this part of my life and then thrown back into it through all of these pictures, seeing some people that I don't speak to anymore for whatever reason, old partners, old pets that are no longer around. It was just very strange. It was, as I say, it was like watching somebody else's life, and I didn't recognize her.
Good morning. Say good morning. Welcome to Tuesday. It is 9:57 and we have arrived at the enclosed field for our 10 o'clock appointment, haven't we? So today I have work this afternoon. I've just been on holiday for a week, so that's at 3 until 8. But between then, now and then, I'll try and get some reading done. And I'll talk to you about the books that I currently have on the go. And try and do some writing. Because actually when I couldn't sleep last night, I feel like an absolute zombie. I managed to get like the first 670 words of my first draft just poof, on my phone and like without my glasses on, and it was really kind of like awkward, but still did it, which is great because I'd basically spent 10 years being like, I like the concept but I've no idea what will happen, and in the last 2 days I've had like major epiphanies about the plot, which is really good, which means I actually now have a plot and an idea of how I can actually write the story and what the story is, because before it was kind of like this is something that happened but I've no idea what they're gonna do with it. But now it has a purpose. What happened is adjusted for the purpose, and it kind of just seems to be more of a fully fleshed concept than it did before. So I'm excited for that, but before Albert goes to sleep, I'll take him into the field. Welcome to Thursday. It's like nearly 20 past 1 in the afternoon. I've got quite a few chores done this morning, which is quite good. I tried this thing from Asda, you know, the roll, like the ready done pastry for pain au chocolat, and then you like roll them up yourself and put them in the oven. They were alright. They were quite small. Can't remember how much it was though, so I don't know whether it's really worth it or just getting normal ones, if you like pain au chocolat. But yeah, so I wanted to actually finally get around to talking about the books that I am reading, because I was so tired yesterday. I don't think I did any filming, but I did do some writing work, so that's good. But yes, I went around and tried to figure out how many books I am actually reading, and came up with these this many. So I have started at least 7 books, and I also ordered a couple, so I thought we could open those as well. So which one did I start first? Probably Step. So I started sometime like literally last year, months and months and months ago. I started this. It's called Stet. Looks like this. It's a memoir from. It's by Diana Athill, or Athill. Athill. That's confusing. But she lived her life and her career as an editor. So the blurb says, for nearly 5 decades, Diana Athill helped shape some of the finest books in modern literature. She edited and nursed and coerced and coaxed some of the most celebrated writers in the English language, including V.S. Naipaul, Jean Rhys and Brian Moore. The word Stet is an instruction on corrected proofs sent to the printer. It means let the original stand. This candid memoir writes Stet against the pleasures, intrigues and complexities of her life spent amongst authors and manuscripts, and this was how things stood. I was really enjoying it, but I was reading it like a little bit at a time at work, and then I put it in a different bag, and then I never took that bag anywhere, and then kind of forgot where it was. But the one thing I particularly like, this has nothing to do with the actual writing, but I do enjoy it. There's little tiny books at the chapter starts, which is really cute, and I like that. But basically they set up a publishing house just after the war. There's just really cute little anecdotes and little phrases and stuff that she says. Like this one, I had a little note next to it saying that it made me laugh or giggle, and it says, Although for all my life I have been much nearer poor than rich, I have inherited a symptom of richness even. I have a strong propensity for idleness. But it's about the trials and stuff of starting a publishing company without any funding, basically, pretty much anything, and how it went. And I've read more memoirs in the last year than I've read in my entire life. So like probably like 2, because I never really read memoir. But very much enjoying that one. I have to remember to actually pick that up because I actually found where it is, so that is promising. What did I pick up after that? It will have been the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, because it was one of my goals to read them all last year, and I didn't do it. You know, I picked one up, I started it. This is closer to having read them than I ever had been before. I am at chapter 7, In the House of Tom Bombadil, who is not a character that I'm familiar with because he's not in the book. No, he's in the books, not in the films. It's interesting to know the film so well and then read the book, because it's the same but it's not the same. Like there's so much. I can pick out exact quotes they've taken and put in the film. I can see which bits they changed, how the characters were adapted, and because screenwriting is a completely different art, like you just kind of have to do it differently. But obviously some of the best films ever made, Lord of the Rings. But no, it's very interesting and I'm really enjoying it. Again, something that I started last year, kind of forgot about, don't know why. It's not, well, I didn't forget about it, it was just there, and I would look at it and then I would do something else. Read something else, do something else. Not for lack of liking it. No, I like it a lot. But again, yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to finish the ones that I've started. Finish the ones you've started before picking up any more. Then I will have picked up, probably will have picked up this one I found in a charity shop. It's a middle grade. It's called The Land of Raw, and I'm only 24 pages in. I was reading it when I was cat sitting on a morning, and in an evening I'd read a little bit of it because I had listened to an audiobook at the time. I'd listened to The House in the Cerulean Sea and then finished it, so I took this middle grade because it was only going to be like snippets that I was going to be reading while I cuddled him on a morning and cuddled him on an evening. But so far it's really cute. I kind of get the idea that they're gonna, because they've basically, it's not really spoilers because it's only 24 pages in. So basically this young lad and his twin sister are emptying out their granddad's attic because he wants to make it into some sort of den for them, or like a place for them to hang out, etc. And they used to play in there when they were kids, and the young boy finds something that reminds him, a map of the land of Ra that they had made, and it reminds him all about it, and I can imagine we'll be going into the land of Ra. I have a strange feeling. But it's beautifully drawn. I just found it in a charity shop. I'd never heard of it before. It's really adorable. I do quite like reading books for children. It's by Jenny McLaughlin, by the way. I didn't say that. But on the back there's a really cute picture of him as a little wizard with a dragon. And it says, "I see a cluster of jelly-shaped islands, a castle rising out of the sea, and 3 dragons soaring through the sky. And written along the top of that map in my spiky handwriting is one word: Raw." It's just so cute. I like the fact that it's going to come alive in whatever way works. Speaking of how beautiful the illustrations are, though, it's illustrated by Ben Mantle, and I think he's really created a beautiful picture. Like, I think the colour palette on this book is just lovely. It's like light enough that it's not like too intense, but it's not quite pale enough for it to be really, really pastel. And I think it's a beautiful, like, nuanced colour palette of those blues and reds. But yeah, that'll be probably what I picked up after Fellowship of the Ring. That was also last year and I've still not finished it. It's February now. My dog's barking in his sleep. Sorry. Anyway. How was this before? After that I started this one when I was dog sitting, not cat sitting. And I picked up Albert Camus' Create Dangerously. At the time when I picked it up, I was quite tired and the words were quite difficult, as in just the way that he wrote it. This is absolutely tiny. It's only 53 and a bit pages long, and it's one of the Penguin Moderns. It's number 17, and I don't actually remember where I got this. I might have ordered it, but I don't remember. But I've started it. I've at least got notes on the first 5 pages, so I think I managed 5 pages before I got tired. But this one shouldn't take me too long, and I think this one will be, again, I did it last year. I started reading all these last couple when I had a massive stint of animal sitting over the Christmas and New Year period because everyone wanted to go away, and I was like, well, I'm not going anywhere. So I did that, and I had just a lot of time with not a lot to do. Apart from obviously look after the animals, but then you don't have to do everything all the time. So I took my books and did my best. But because this month I've had a reinvigoration of trying to bring creativity back into my life, because after university I did a theatre degree, and then once I left I worked at an antique centre, then I worked at a kennel. I thought maybe I'd try my hand at becoming someone who could be a dog trainer. So I've been working in the kennel and doing all the pet sitting on the side. I have a qualification. I did a level 3, and now working in just another retail shop. But I'm missing that creative aspect to my life, and I think at the moment I've got to a point where I'm the most grounded I've ever been. and I understand myself a lot more. I know when to let myself take breaks. I know what I need. I know, well, most of the time most of the time I'm so much better at it, because I used to just completely break down, and if anything happened I would have a breakdown, and it wasn't just, oh, I'd feel a bit sad. it would be like a, I'm having a panic attack. But I barely have them anymore, and I've changed my situation, I've changed who I have around me, I've changed what I'm doing. I'm working towards, with my doctor, about possibly getting an ADHD diagnosis, because I scored quite highly on their questionnaire for that, because I was previously diagnosed with something else, and that's quite common. But I won't talk too much about that because it's not really had any progress recently, because the waiting lists on the NHS are about 2 years long. Been on it for quite some time, can't even remember how long now. We've recently moved and I'm going to have to change my doctors, and I don't know how that's going to affect it, and I've gone off on a completely different ramble. But basically what I was trying to say was, now that I'm in a position to put more creative hobbies or career goals, aspirations back into my life, I probably find this one easier to read, because it'll have some prevalence to what I'm actually doing. I probably mentioned I'm trying to finally actually write a novel. I started when I was 16, I'm now 26, and I wrote something quite prevalent to one of my friends online the other day, and I was like, oh, I have a 10-year I've got nothing but a blank page and a 10-year-old aspiration. So let's do something about it, team. Let's do it. After that one, I think all 3 were actually picked up this year, so that is promising stuff. But yes, we still have 3 left. So I will have next picked up Stephen King's Fairy Tale. I got it in hardback because of the Waterstones hardback sale. That's it. Basically I got a gift voucher reward at work for being good at work, I guess. Where you got a list of options on a website, and you can pick which shop you want to put your money towards and how much toward it you want to put. So I basically put £25 onto my Nintendo eShop to put toward getting the newest Pokemon game, and then I did the other £25 onto a book token, so that I could then use it at Waterstones, in the Waterstones hardback sale, because I don't normally buy hardbacks, but I did. So that's why I have it in hardback. I normally would read in paperback, but it's fine. It's nice and big. Font is good. But also, I have never read a Stephen King novel before. I read his memoir on writing, which was really great, and I was able to pick stuff that I agreed with. There was some stuff that I was a bit more like, well, that doesn't have to be a definitive law. But obviously when you're reading these things, you don't have to actually live your life by someone else's rules. You can take what they think is what works for them, which is absolutely fine, and then you can take it, try it, and see if it works for you. One of the things Brandon Sanderson said in his lectures is you've got to learn when to ignore him. So you've got to be able to take what he says, apply it, but then if it doesn't work for you, throw it in the bin. If it doesn't work, throw it in the bin. Like, what's the point of continuing to try and live your life the way that someone else has succeeded if it's not going to be the way that you can succeed? Which I quite liked. But anyway, this book, I'm 63 pages in, onto chapter 7. So far I'm really enjoying it. It sounds like it's going to become something very different to what it is right now, because at the moment his life is still pretty normal, but we're not very far through, because the blurb reads, I reached the opening and saw the ceiling overhead. Oh wait, I can't read. Why do I have a reading channel? I reached the opening and saw the ceiling overhead was now earth, with fine tendrils of root dangling down. I ducked under some overhanging vines and stepped out onto the sloping hillside. The sky was grey, but the field was bright red, poppies spread in a gorgeous blanket stretching left and right as far as I could see. A path led to thick woods, making me think of the forest that had once grown in my suburban town. There's some ellipsis in there, and it's possible that they cut something out because it doesn't quite read why you'd have ellipsis there if that was just a sentence. But anyway, I looked to the far horizon and saw the skyline of a great city. Daylight reflected hazily from the highest towers as if they were made of glass. So it sounds like our character, and from the cover, the dog that he's currently looking after for somebody who's in hospital. Spoilers. I'm going to go on an adventure to some place where the city looks like it's made of glass and there's poppies everywhere. But I'm not there yet. But I have been reading this one, and I'm enjoying the writing style. It's definitely got a certain narrative voice, very prevalent voice, which I imagine is probably Stephen King, because having read his memoir, I can feel his tone. Even though he is writing from the tone of a young teenage boy, I can still see it from his memoir, which is interesting. I quite like that. Quite like being able to have read that, have an idea of the author's personal voice, and then read the novel and see how the personal voice is intermingling with the character voice. I think that's quite fun. But yes, so that was, it's not finished, but that's something else I'm reading, Stephen King fairy tale. And then after that, I probably will have picked up the second one in the Pokemon Adventures manga, because I have read the first one, on to the second one. Definitely really enjoying it. It's just really cute. I quite like picking it up before I go to bed, because it's not too difficult for me to read it. It's mostly pictures, which we like, and we like Pokemon. But this girl, man, Green, what a bitch. She's just so unapologetically mean. She's mean, she steals, she lies, and she's just all about getting exactly what she wants. And, you know, power to her, but, you know, don't break the law. You know, don't break the law. Pokemon. Different from definitely very different from the anime adaptation, which I have seen about 850 episodes of and then gave up. Because it kind of went a bit downhill for me. Because having watched all of it as an adult, the previous like seasons and stuff, they slowly became less and less easy to watch as an adult. It became so spoon-feedy. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything that happened was being explained by just the characters explaining it out of their mouths. Like, they would just stand there and explain it. Which didn't happen in quite the same way before, because I would have been annoyed with it to start with. If it had, because I wasn't young and I wasn't just watching it for the fun of it. I was watching it older because I liked the game. But as it got further and further on, it just got more and more dull, because everything was just being like, here's a monologue about what's happening, here's a monologue to explain this, here's a monologue about it, and I was just like, but this is definitely a good read so far. And then the last one on the list of things that I have currently got on the go is a buddy read with my wonderful friend Chloe. I'll leave her Instagram for her bookstagram in the description. But we have, and I ended up with 2 copies of this book, so I sent one to her with her Christmas package, and said maybe we could read it together. So I'm currently partway through, I think chapter 2, yeah, chapter 2 I've started. I'm on page 74, and it's The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. If only I could just recall what I just read with my eyes out my mouth, that would be fab, wouldn't it? It's lovely. I'm enjoying the fact that the cat's perspective is first person and the human perspective is third person. I like that. I like that differentiation, because you get a very different experience rather than them both just being first person or them both just being third person. There's that really defining difference. You get a different feel. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's different, but like more different than if they were both the same person, as in perspective. Words. But no, really enjoying it so far. And the little pictures, the art style for the pictures at the beginnings of the chapters are just so cute. So cute. But yeah, I'm interested because at the moment he's just trying to find someone to take his cat. We don't know why he needs someone to take his cat, and we've had quite a few flashbacks, which is very interesting. But he's travelling all over the place, but at some point someone's going to take his cat, right? It's not just going to be a whole book of him travelling trying to find someone to take his cat, because that would be a lot. But I'm hoping that at some point someone takes the cat. But then, because it's a Travelling Cat Chronicles, where would then the cat go? Where then would the cat go, even? Because if they then find someone to take the cat, why would the cat then be travelling anymore for chronicling? I could just read it and find out. So that is the pile of books I currently have started but not finished. Let's open my book mail. So basically, I said that I'm trying to write my novel, or at least a novel, and I decided that I wanted to look into, like, you know, like, sorry, that was probably really crinkly, but I wanted to read about the archetypes and like go through books that are typical of the archetype. Start again. I wanted to basically do a project alongside it where I look at the theory of the archetype, or like writing technique, or whatever thing it is that I'm currently looking at and how to do properly, and then taking a book that is typically of that archetype or thing that or is a good example of showing that thing, and then going through the book and identifying why this is a typical example of said thing. I hope that makes sense. To start with, I wanted to look at the hero's journey archetype. That is an archetype, right? Oh, I'm such self-doubt, man. Such self-doubt, but luckily I made notes. So these are my notes from the Brandon Sanderson lectures, but I did write a bit in it when he was talking about archetypes. I went online, found a list of some of the archetypes, and then wrote them down. No, it's not an archetype. The archetypes are like overcoming the monster, rags to riches, the quest, voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, rebirth. And for what I'm writing, I highlighted 3 that would be the most likely, because I hadn't quite solidified what was going on in the story. I had the concept, I had a type of magic, I had a handful of characters, but not exactly how it would play out. I didn't have the end goal to work towards. I didn't have what was happening particularly. I had a vague idea, but I'm a lot closer to it now. But I highlighted 3 most likely of overcoming the monster, the quest, and voyage and return. So at some point I could also look into, I think it's most likely going to be overcoming the monster, but you never know. I could have an epiphany and it could change. But that would be, for example, I would then choose overcoming the monster as the archetype, find a book that typically shows that, buy the book, read the book, and identify the stuff in it, just so that I can slowly become more familiar with all these things. The hero's journey, is it just one of the types of character arcs? Let me have another look. Why can I suddenly just not remember? Why does this happen? It's just a common template of a story. So Wikipedia says that in narratology and comparative mythology, the hero's journey, or the monomyth, is the common template of stories that involves a hero who goes on an adventure, is victorious in a decisive crisis, and then comes home changed or transformed. So that is the hero's journey. It is a thing. And then I suppose overcoming the monster could be coincided with the hero's journey, as they go over, kill the monster, come back changed, you know, if you were going to mesh those 2 together. So basically, after that massive ramble and awful description of what that actually is, I bought A Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is probably the most famous book on the hero's journey. Ooh, someone's left a card in here. So this used to belong to, at least, or unless somebody has his business card and used it as a bookmark, this copy used to belong to somebody who was a lecturer in the history of contemporary Japan at the University of London, SOAS. How cool. I like finding people's bookmarks in books. But anyway, what I was saying was, it's probably one of the most famous books about the hero's journey, so I thought I'd read it, but I've also heard it's sexist. So I'm coming in prepared. I'm prepared. But then to go with it, I got something I haven't read, but also is typically discussed as one of the most decisive examples of a hero's journey, which is Homer's Odyssey, because I've not actually got around to reading that, and also because I just really like the Oxford World's Classics. I got it in the Oxford World's Classics edition. It does seem to have like a really old yellowing sticker mark here. I don't know if you'll be able to kind of see, but I suppose that's okay. I'll allow it, but it's got loads of bent pages in it as well, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah. But so basically, if I haven't explained it well enough, I'm gonna read this and identify in this what's in this. Yay. This bit has been long. This is gonna probably be the most of the vlog. So I'll leave it there, and I'll speak to you later on, and probably hopefully with some reading updates. Bye. Welcome to Sunday. I'm wearing that same jumper again. I've washed it since we started. But I didn't film a lot yesterday or anything because I, in the morning, hung out with my partner. I did do some reading. I now can't remember how many pages through the book I am. One sec. I'm using, that's not convenient, is it? I'm actually using the book I wanted to talk about as the tripod for the camera. But I was wrong last time. I was not on chapter 7 because each chapter has sections, and I was on section 7 of whatever chapter I was on at the time. But now I am on chapter 8, so I have actually surpassed chapter 7, and we're still within normal limits for what a world would be. Like, we're still kind of normal life. I do feel like it's going to change. It's called fairy tale. They've like sprinkled in some things to mean that you're expecting like it's going to become something else. But yeah, yesterday hung out with my partner in the morning, went to work, and then afterwards I had I played World of Warcraft and I had raid with my guild, so I didn't really do any filming. And today so far I've slept in because I really didn't feel very well. Then we've been shopping, we've had a food shop, and then I'm going to finish off this vlog, set myself up ready because at 4 in 1 hour, because it is now 2:59, I am setting off to go do some dog sitting. And then tomorrow we'll start the next weekly vlog, which will be quite fun because especially tomorrow I'm meeting up with a uni friend for the first time in like 2 years. We haven't seen each other since uni ended, just because, you know, you blink and life happens. But it's very exciting. We're going to York. I don't know if she ever went, but I'm from York originally, so I'm going to go drive there and take her around all the best places. So that'll be really fun, and that'll be tomorrow. I also wanted to, just before everything ended, say that on all the books that I am currently reading, I forgot to even consider the audiobooks. So at the time that I filmed that, I was actually listening to Neil Gaiman's Coraline, which why had I not listened to it before or read it or anything? I loved it, especially because it was read by Neil Gaiman, and then in between all the parts he did this funny little weird song. Really immersive little weird song, which was quite funny. The first time I heard it though, I was like, what is this sound? Because it's really like dum, 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 like Doctor Who-y. It's quite funny. But no, I really loved that story. Really, I loved Coraline as a character. Like, she never really wavered. There was not really any point where she particularly felt, oh, I might stay here with these people who pay me loads of attention. It never really was something she seriously considered, and I really liked that. But since finishing that, because I finished that pretty soon after I did that list, which I did not include it on, I started a new audiobook. So last year at some point, I think it was last year, probably last year, I listened to the first one of the Mortal Engines series by Philip Reeve, the Mortal Engines one. So now I've started book 2. I'm about an hour in, 10% an hour, and it's The Predator's Gold, book 2. So I started listening to it on a dog walk, and I got the giggles in public because I know it's not meant to be funny, but it started off with this girl that I don't know if I remember it well enough, but I don't think we've met this girl before. Waking up, trying to dress herself. She can't do a very good job because she always had servants and stuff to do that for her at the time. But it kept reminding us in a really quite direct way, which was kind of, it seemed unfamiliar in the writing style to me. I don't know, the writing style seemed like it was different last time to that, and then since it's been like how it was before, but I don't know, it just seemed like it had a different vibe in that one section. But it kept saying stuff like, she waited in her bed and for her servants to come and help her out of it, but then she remembered that they were all dead. And I just got the giggles. And then a little bit later it was like, she had figured out how to dress herself, but her servants would have been able to do this, laughing and giggling, all distracted, but the buttons were very difficult for her, and they would have been able to do it without missing any buttons, but they were all dead. I was just like, I don't know why it made me laugh. It just made me laugh. But no, it wasn't meant to be funny. But yes, thank you for coming along with me on this vlog. I'm going to now put in this clip into the vlog and upload it this afternoon. So, yay! Back into it. Putting that creativity juice right into the veins. So yeah, I'm very excited to do all the things I've talked about, the fact that I'm trying to do in this vlog. And consistency, because Brandon Sanderson, why can I not say his name? Brandon Sanderson says that the main thing about finishing things is the main thing about finishing things is learning consistency. Rather than anything else, the most important thing is consistency. You can set a certain amount of time every week for something, you will finish it if you are consistent. So I need to find out the ebb and flow that works for me. I think I did a pretty good job of it this week. This is throwing myself into a new routine, and normally I can do stuff like this for 3 weeks and then it kind of peters off. So check in with future self. Can we surpass 3 weeks? Can we make it to 4 weeks? That's the goal. See you 3 vlogs later to confirm. I may not remember 3 vlogs later. However, hopefully we make it to consistency and to finish things and to creating something I'm proud of and just to fulfill my soul. Go forth, be free, fulfill your souls, everybody. Thanks for watching. I've been Isabel, you've been you, and I'm very grateful that you spent the time with me on this vlog. Ciao!